Hello and welcome to another episode of Burning Questions. Hi Alex, hi Diego.
Is it?
I'm Bali.
How you guys doing?
Yeah.
Good, thanks. And how are you, ma'am?
Alex, is everything
What's up
okay?
with Alex?
No, it's guys. I feel like the week starts off so hot. Like I feel like Mondays
Bro,
and Tuesdays are like zero to hero, and like
uh,
after there, it. But maybe it's just me. Maybe I need to go and align my
yeah,
chakras somewhere else.
definitely, please. I think you're the problem here. Guys, so today I'm Burning Questions. We're looking at a quote from Dr. Anthea Jeffrey. I think we refer to her as Dr. Anthea Jeffrey, right?
Hmm.
Alex, this is where you correct me.
Yeah, no, she
Cool.
most definitely earns that title for sure.
Cool. Can you guys see and read everything?
Hmm.
Cool. Okay, let's get right into it. This code card, do you guys want me to read it out or should we go straight to comments?
Yeah,
Read it out,
yeah. Let's read it
please.
out, and then we'll tackle some comments. I reckon.
Boring. Hashtag boring. Jokes. Okay. So this quote card from Dr. Anthea Jeffrey reads: the harm to the majority of Black South Africans is enormous, as scarce tax revenues and repeatedly siphoned off for the benefit of deployed cadres and the ANC's patronage machine. Let's go right straight into this one. I think the comment comes from Jake's, and it reads a bread and a coke, and they vote for the ANC again, and they are kept uneducated, so fraudster BE elite can fatten their bellies and fill their pockets with the promised lies. The racketing and looting affects all of the population, not just one group. And I think, guys, we spoke about this, I think, last week in the burning questions of last week that I think we're talking about grants. And what the conversation was, they keep the grants going so that they always know that they'll have someone who's supporting them, who's voting for them. And I think Jace is also touching on that again, that these people, they just offer you a certain incentive and they think that you're going to keep voting for them. Diego, what do you think about Jake's comment?
Well, I think not necessarily a bread and coke, but
Well,
social grants, of course. But I do think that the matter is it's quite a complex matter, right? Because
mm,
at the same time, you have people who live in poverty and absolute poverty
mhm,
who, when you give 350, the 350 makes a lot of difference in their lives immediately, right? And
mhm.
such people might end up voting for you because they are not even necessarily aware that you are the one causing them not to have 350 in the first place.
Okay,
They
why
don't
are they not
understand.
aware? Why are they not aware?
Lack of education. That
Okay.
that has to be it. Lack of
Mm,
education. But even more so, man, it depends. It depends on where you are. You stay in. So even in terms of information and the kind of information that reaches you in South Africa, it
mm,
really does depend on where in South Africa you are located. Like
yep.
I've made the example with the people in Begasford that the politics there are a lot different from the politics practiced in Cape Town, Joburg, Polokwane, or let's say Port Elizabeth, right? Around
Mm,
those areas, people are interested in service delivery, for example.
mm-hmm,
Whereas in places like Begasford, yes, people are interested in service delivery and stuff, but
mm,
they believe the government of the day when it tells them that no, we have tried all we could, but there's nothing
Mm.
more we could do. And because they
mm,
don't understand how the system works, they end up believing that and end up continue to vote for these people partly because they are threatened with social grants that if you don't vote for us, we'll take away your social grants. So it's a bit of a complex matter. But if I could just quickly comment on what Dr. Anthea Jeffrey does say, I
mm,
agree entirely with her. We we
yep.
we we have we don't have a lot of people working in South Africa, so our tax base is very small, right? On top of that already small tax base, we have politicians who steal from that tax base. That tax base would have, if not stolen, could assist the poor the most more than anyone else. And because it's stolen, it ends up not assisting anyone. And if anything, it ends up causing a crisis for all of us, despite the socio-economic level you find yourself at.
That is true. The next comment is from Natasha. And Natasha says, ANC don't care. It's all about each other's pockets, thick as thieves. Well, I guess the ANC, they are, we can maybe name them thick boys. Thick boys. Alex, what are your thoughts on the code card and the two comments that we've read already?
Yeah, no, I agree with Tiago. I think the one thing that we obviously speak a lot about policies that are detrimental to job creation. In the Freedom Fanatics part of the show, we spoke about ways that we could maybe cut some of the most harmful policies. And I think that's the thing is like it's so important to look at. The thing that we struggle to do, and half our work at FAN is to basically try and simplify and decodify policies so that ordinary people can understand why they do or don't work. If they work, we don't. We can talk about policies that work and how we can scale those successes, but the ones that cause the most harm are the ones that we need to bring to the fore and try and advocate that they be changed and improved. But I think the thing that's so bizarre is that something like cadre deployment, which is essentially a jobs for buddy scheme, is so easy to understand that I think it is almost incumbent on all South Africans to be so outraged about it and make a noise about it. And that's why it's so great that we have people getting so stuck into the comments, saying, "Yeah, that's true." Obviously, I can see there's some counter comments, but make a noise about it. If there's something that you don't agree with, follow the platforms like us, but obviously give your support to people who advocate for ideas that actually work. And cadre deployment is a blatant. It's just such a simple thievery, actually. As Anthea says, she says it a lot more. Dr. Jeffrey says a lot more, smoothly than me, siphoned off. But essentially, that's what happened. And yeah, we shouldn't be standing for this kind of thing. So I think let's try and win the battles that we can. We know cadre deployment exists. It only benefits the few. Whenever it comes up, backlash, like we did with the flag. People were so outraged by the flag because they knew it was such a dumb idea. That's how you win the battle of ideas, is push back where you think you have the right argument.
Yeah, I don't think Mark Mills agrees with us because his comment is, "This woman is just another complete idiot." What's wrong, Mark? Like, is everything okay at home, sir?
I don't think he's even worth giving the attention, man. Clearly, he's not familiar with Dr. Anthea Jeffrey. He is clearly not familiar with her works. I mean, even if he does, let's say for argument's sake, he does not agree with Dr. Anthea Jeffrey's views on something. Nobody who has read Dr. Jeffrey's work could refer to her as an idiot. I mean, you can disagree with someone, but that in no way makes them an idiot. There are a lot of scholars, Marxist scholars, communist scholars that I disagree with, that I think their ideas simply don't hold. But to an extent, I still respect them for their ability to think and structure something at least. But yeah, Mark clearly doesn't know Dr. Jeffrey at all. But a comment I wanted to make was that in areas like Begasford, it becomes a bit complex, right? Because you don't really have a thriving private sector in such areas. What you have are municipalities and many jobs that are created by the government, right? Many of those jobs are, of course, very unnecessary. But you end up with a situation whereby people in such areas aspire to become these politicians because it's the best thing they get to see in their area. When you see someone driving a Mercedes Benz, it's either a councillor, a mayor, an MM, or a friend of theirs. When you see someone staying in a big house, it's that kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
it becomes an internal matter. Internally, the people then begin to see that as a way of getting there. They begin to support the ANC, for example, or voting for the ANC because they want to be next on the queue, so they can also get to drive these nice cars, stay in these big houses, and stuff of that nature. But I do agree with Alex that we definitely as citizens have to rise up against things that we don't agree with. But another duty that I think we should take upon ourselves and make it our responsibility really is to educate the next person in whatever space. If you go to KwaZulu-Natal, if you go to Limpopo, if you go to the Eastern Cape, you are in rural areas, you are having a conversation with someone, try exactly what we are trying to do as fans here, breaking down these big things into small things. Try to break down these big things into small things. And I think it's part of how movements such as the Black Student Movement, movements such as the ANC, managed to get to where they did when they did politically. They did not rely only on themselves as organizations passing on the message, but relied on educating citizens, and the next citizen educating the next citizen, the next citizen educating the next one. Eventually, we'll get to a point whereby we are at one level or at one crucial level of understanding of our politics. But it's gonna be a hard one, but it's a duty that we cannot leave undone.
Definitely. Let's go to the next comment, which is from Eugene Tombeni, and he says, "Profound truth by Miss Anthea Jeffrey. We are being used, misused, underused, overused, and abused on this evil overtaxation system." And I think these are kind of comments that we like to, to see that people actually are not happy with the state of South Africa, and they are able to interact with us and share their views and their thoughts. We appreciate you guys. Neba Dula says all that was created by a white system. Alex, not because you are a bit but was the system created by people who kind of look like you?
These kind of comments are just not helpful.
They stress you out.
No, they don't stress me out. They're just not useful. They don't accelerate the debate. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing of substance here from Mgeba to work with. I mean, cadre deployment was created by the ANC in 1997. I mean, that's still when Mandela was president of the country and the ANC. It's just like, it's weak sauce, man. Like, what? That's just missing the point. You know what I mean? I don't really. And I this is something that I guess it's something important to try and flesh out here. So let's give it a bash. Is when you're in an environment where somebody wants to deviate the debate around political issues in South Africa to say, oh, this is just a white thing, or this is just a black thing, or whatever, is to make the point of how something, to counter argue with something like, okay, but regardless of where it started, or like, okay, the premise is wrong, like it's not a white people system, whatever. The point is that cadre deployment harms the majority of Black South Africans. If that is something that you don't want to happen, then you should support the sort of the banning of cadre deployment. It's simple. Does Mgeba want cadre deployment to continue? Does he want harm to continuously be done to the majority of poor South Africans, black and white, but primarily the majority black population. So I think that's kind of thing is not to get sidetracked by like deviant or like I don't want to say deviant, but it's like maybe lazy and like trying to catch you out comments. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Or like misinformed, or like he doesn't really understand, or he doesn't want to. Basically,
yeah, exactly. I don't think it's misinformed. I think it's just it's like a deliberate attempt not to deal with the content of the subject.
He's deliberately being disingenuous and mischievous. It's very deliberate. But I even wonder what in particular is he referring to? Is he referring to perhaps a tax system, of which we've always had tax systems in Africa, even before the arrival of white settlers? You had situations whereby kings would demand from community members to donate a certain share of food they would have raised on their farms to the king. We've always had such things. Like I always say, it's ours really is a human history, littered and filled with many places where we as human beings collectively, well, I'm not even referring to us, generations that came before us, collectively did certain things within a certain context. Here and there we could judge and say it's mistakes, say it's wrongs and whatnot. But the reality of the matter is that we are where we are. We need to get out of the situation we find ourselves in. We need practical solutions of getting out of this. Anything else really doesn't cut it. It's a waste of time, like Alex has said.
Yeah, definitely. The next comment is quite long. I'll try summarize it. It's from Rosemary. So she's basically saying that we are in the state because of the ANC. It's basically the ANC's fault that Africans are poor and they are desperate. And obviously she goes in to mention that we've had 14 years of load shedding. Guys, has it been 14 years of load shedding? Please tell me no, it hasn't.
It started in 2008 or 2009. So yeah, it's close to that, if not that, I think.
Okay, we are going.
I remember I was in grade 7 when it started. So that was 2009. I think it started around that time, if I'm not mistaken. Alex might.
No, it was the first load shedding was 2008. So it's a veritable teenager going into tackling grade 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Puberty is about to hit load shedding, guys. It's lit.
Dude, I wonder what it's going to look like when it's 16. Bro, they'll come into your house and take your candles then. So the part that I think stands out on this comment for me, so obviously she highlights the problems, which is the looting, the corrupt ministers, the cadre deployment, BEE, and and she says all while blaming white South Africans. What I think we're saying now, that these people are shifting the blame to white South Africans. They're trying to find someone to blame. And I like that Rosemary is pointing out that it's honestly the ANC. The ANC is doing, and she goes on to say, the ANC have had 28 years to improve and do better. They instead have chosen corruption. South Africans, stand up as one and fight for a better life. Don't vote ANC or EFF. Alex?
You know what's good here is that, at FAN we would never advocate for anyone to vote for any political party. I think even within the organization we vote differently according to our own beliefs and sort of the party that we think can deliver best sort of service delivery ultimately and run our economy. But I think the thing is, you must hold the ruling party of the day accountable. And if people need to decide how they do that, and I think that's partly why Rosemary is defaulting to voting. I think voting something we all very passionate about is that's your checks and balances. If you don't like how something is done, use the democratic process that is there, of which voting is one, to bring a better life for yourself. If you think somebody can do it better, do it. If you get someone to paint your house and do a bad job, you don't hire the same painter. Get someone else, or tell them what a bad job they're doing. Give them a chance. If they do it again, you move on. It's not, you don't owe. And I think obviously that's something much, much deeper in South African politics, is that there's a deep-rooted political allegiance obviously particularly to the ANC, but go out there and use whatever mechanisms are available to show that you're not happy with the state of affairs.
Bro, but it's been 28 years. I try that. Maybe South Africans are just nice people. We just like giving chances. Like at this point, we're not even like on second chances. 28 chances that we're giving the ANC. Yeah. Like it's kind of crazy.
I think it's a bit more complex. I don't think South Africans are just giving I don't think they're just giving the ANC votes. I think some of those who are giving the ANC votes give the ANC votes because they aspire to eat like the ANC and to get there. I think society is rotten at large beyond the ANC. And I think, there's a lot of people who are really supporters of the ANC, not because they believe in the ANC, what it stands for. I think that has died out. A lot of people who are doing this are doing it because they benefit in one way from another at different levels. There are those who are supporting it at national because they'll benefit from your tenders and whatnot. There are those who are doing it from provincial for same reasons, local for same reasons. Then at local level, at the branches level and whatnot, you have people who are doing it as well, so they can get an EPWP job, the local municipality, so they can clean the streets. So really, it's a whole system of corruption. And even the people who keep on voting for the ANC, we mustn't. I think we must be careful not to treat them as saints, because some of them themselves are doing it with the purpose of benefiting. So it's really a huge crisis that we are faced with. Goes beyond party lines. You find members of the DA in conversation with ANC members causing corruption. You find EFF members doing it. It's a crisis. It's a crisis that those of us who love and care about our country must come together to fight beyond party lines, beyond race, beyond everything else. Just for the love of our country and us wanting to ensure that ours does become a successful country.
Yeah, definitely. Alex, do you have anything to add before we end the show?
Yeah, I think just the last comment, because maybe just something for us to think about is, how do we get around that? How do we, we know how warped political systems can be, but, how do we get to a point where, people are motivated to vote because I don't doubt that many people vote because they want to see change, and we need to scale that up, but where, people live in such situations where they feel like politics doesn't work for them, and the best way to get ahead is to get a seat at the table to chow down. How do we get beyond that? How do you communicate to somebody who has nothing, doesn't have a job, lives off the social grant, doesn't have time to have political debates? How do people who have access to information, have access to platforms, have listen to the media or platforms like our own? How do you know what I mean? Where do we start? And I think that's something that's a challenge for us, at least, but it's a challenge that we all face, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, Diego?
Well, it's my last comment. I was about to say that I can't necessarily say where we start personally. But I know where I think I know where something is missing. And what we are missing in South Africa, like we've always mentioned, is on the side of civil society. We need more civil society organizations that are going to hold the government to account, that are going to stand with the people, for the people, and demand that right things be done by the people. But I do think that we have started. FAN is something of that nature, right?
Yeah.
I think the question then becomes, how do we expand and reach out to as many citizens as possible, reach out to someone who's sitting in Mdantsane in the Eastern Cape, reach out to someone who's in Khayelitsha in Cape Town, reach out to someone who's in Giyani, Limpopo without Wi-Fi connection, who can't access our podcast. That is a question that I think we need to battle with. But I do think that the gap lies in the civil society side of things. Like I said, here's a company that we owe. It's the government. We own it as citizens. But we don't attend stakeholders meetings. We don't attend shareholders meetings. Civil society, that's what's missing. we have really, to be blunt, we have allowed the ANC to do what it is doing to us. They did not do it. They are doing it in our presence, and we are continually allowing it to go on. And really, part of it is really our fault. And in fact, the major part of it is our fault for electing people and not holding them to account.
Okay, that was sad. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Burning Questions. Do remember to follow us on social media at Badger of Liberty, and do like, share, and subscribe. If you're able to share this with someone in Limpopo, in Tanzania, I don't know how you're going to do it, but do that. And remember, your freedom is worth fighting for.